What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. And today's video, we're going to be talking about one of many issues that surround this whole idea of what is reality, what is the matrix, what is the soul trap or soul trick, if there is indeed one. And we're going to talk about two differing views on exactly what is happening with the quote unquote system. And the reason why I'm examining this issue in two differing views is to highlight a difficulty that exists within this pursuit of knowledge and truth and information, which is when we have people that are genuinely trying to help humanity and get true information out there and help free us from the matrix or whatever you want to call it, it becomes really tough. It makes the journey tough when you have people that are two people that are both trying to purportedly achieve the same goal, yet they have differing views on kind of like fundamental foundational issues. And it gets really tough for us because we're already in this world of deception, misdirection, disinformation, misinformation. But that's easier to understand when it's from the powers that be or people that are part of specific incentive structures. Like that I can get. But when you have two people that are both basically trying to help, trying to go in the same direction, yet they can't agree, that's when it gets really, really difficult. And the only answer that I have now, as of now, in terms of trying to decipher who is more in the right than the other, is intuition. And that's all I got. And that's the only answer I have, is just try to have faith in our personal individual intuition, trust that individual intuition, try and steer clear of biases or inherent desires that might steer us in the wrong direction, and just go with that. And if anybody else has any other ideas or thoughts on how to better discern who's giving the better narrative, then I'm all ears. I'd love to know. And that's what this community is for, that we're building, is to be a community of people that are asking questions, not going to be stuck and rigid in our viewpoints or opinions, but be open and flexible and have discourse and dialogue and see if we can get to the bottom of everything together. So without further ado, let's get into this micro issue that illustrates this broader dilemma, which is the question of what is happening right now in terms of the trick, the trap, the system. Okay, so we're going to start with Darius Wright's vantage point. This was on the Next Level Soul podcast. So we're going to begin with this clip where the host of Next Level Soul podcast kind of explains that he thinks, hey, here he has heard from his many interviews, hey, we had two potential paths and we have chosen one of the paths. We've chosen the good path. So he's going to kind of set it up, and then Darius is going to take it over from there.
From my understanding, humanity had at one point two roads to take. One that would absolutely destroy humanity and we would be reset again, like we have been with the Great Flood, Atlantis, and you can go back as far as you like. Or as a consciousness, we agreed to, like, no, we're done. We need to move forward. We need to evolve. And from what I've heard from multiple sources is that decision was made already, and we're heading towards evolution. We're heading towards awakening. And we can kind of see it in the world that we're in right now by these conversations being seen by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world, where 20 years ago, this doesn't exist. They're not ready for it.
So he's talking about those two paths, and he believes we've chosen the good path. And Darius responds with, there was never two paths. There was only one outcome, and the outcome was positive. The outcome was freedom. It always has been, always will be, because that's what he's been shown in his OBE experiences.
What you just said, but let's go back to the two paths. This place is also what you said before. We are heading towards a path of freedom for everybody. I've known that from 16. I was shown that from 16, and we're in it. There was the path of destruction was never going to be fulfilled. It was never going to be fulfilled because it's already this is a set marker set from the other side itself, that this place is free. Again, you can say the very Garden of Eden is here. Heaven itself is here again. Everything turns online. So there was never two paths. There was always one path, and that was to freedom, becoming the highest version of yourself back to purity and love. The second path was always the distortion and the illusion that was never going to happen anyways, but to always put you in fear and doubt of the freedom. Because when you put yourself in the focusing on that second path of fear, hatred, destruction, think about what you're doing. Your words and how you feel program the very reality that we live in, and it programs your very body. And what you feel and what you say and what you think and you put out there, and you are participating in the narratives, you become the very death itself that they're talking about within yourself. You see what I mean? Because you're saying that to yourself. You're putting yourself in that frequency, that state, which causes illness, disease, suffering, and death to you.
So effectively what he's saying is, no, there's nothing to worry about the system. The system is coming down. We're going towards this one path. It's freedom. It's always been freedom. And any statements otherwise are simply fear-mongering ways to put you in negative states of mind that ultimately harm you. And so I guess what he's trying to say there is that maybe those attempts to distort or make you fearful is maybe the system trying to hang on. I'm not exactly sure, but basically his overarching message is, nope, it's coming down. We're going. Nothing can stop this, right? That you see in the thumbnail. That's the main takeaway. Now we go to a different vantage point. We go to Isabella Greene, and she has a completely different perspective. And again, what's fascinating is both Darius and Isabella are using similar, maybe not identical, but similar techniques to ascertain this information. Darius through his OBEs, but OBEs that he likens more to near-death experiences where he leaves his body and he's basically on the verge of death. And then Isabella Greene through these astral projections, projecting herself out of her body and also seeing this information and then relaying it to us. But they have different perspectives, and that's the difficulty. But let's hear Isabella Greene give her take on what she thinks is happening.
There's a lot of talk on the spiritual channels where people are cheering that, yay, the old reincarnation cycle structure is getting dismantled. Yes, it is getting dismantled. We have figured it out. Darius Wright has been through all the 12 dimensions of the matrix and back, and he has visuals about it and he talks about it. He doesn't call it dimensions of the matrix, but from my perspective of having done astral projection through all the layers, that's exactly what he's talking about too. So add another piece to that, the piece that I bring, and you learn how to bypass the whole structure. And so they're going to start losing force. Human beings have figured it out. And we've learned too much about the whole system. And if we look at what's going on here, all systems get upgraded anyway. And would make it so much easier, if humans are half cyborged anyway, and everyone is controllable, and you push a button and everyone just milks that loosh, like pours that loosh out, and they can just have to put a cup out and milk you, and that's it. And it makes the whole system significantly easier. So when the New Age channels cheering for dismantling of the reincarnation system, I see that that's not necessarily very good news, because who is gonna let go of the very thing they created to sustain themselves? There is no way they're going to dismantle and just let all the souls out of here. They're dismantling the old system to replace it with the new one. With the new one, bulletproof, that we have not figured out yet, first. And secondary, that maybe will be much harder to figure out. And thirdly, maybe it wouldn't have the loopholes that this one does. Because this system has been in place from the beginning of time, from the beginning of the human race. The human race was created to sustain the makers of the structure. And if you read the Gnostic text, and I've been reading this, Nagamori,
Yeah.
right? So it says right there, Yaldabaoth said, "Hey, let me create the seven heavens or whatever, and populate it and utilize it, and bring angels and archangels in myriads of these beings to serve." And so the human beings will quite literally, it's right in this text, quite literally created just for that. So I don't see that all of the excitement about the new technological advancements and this and that is a good thing, because there's hardly anything that we can call that's a good thing for the human race. The human race is just here as a battery, sadly.
Okay, right. So we have two very, very different views of what's going on. One from Darius, one from Isabella, and it's really tricky. It's really tricky to navigate these waters when both people are trying to, move in that same direction of revealing truth and helping us understand what's really going on and trying to help people. So we come back to our tool, one and only tool really, is intuition. Intuition, I mean, continuing to study, continuing to try to get more knowledge and information and using all of that to help guide us. But I think that's all I have right now. And if people have other ideas on how we navigate these waters, please let me know in the comments, because that's what this community is for, to help. We can have a group think, a think tank, if you will, to see how we can figure this stuff out together and to not be rigid, to be flexible, and to try and learn and understand together. But I will say, in this instance, leaning on my intuition, the one thing that I've mentioned this before that does tend to bother me about the way that Darius positions things is he does so in such a matter-of-fact way. Like, there's no flex, there's no doubt in his statements or what he's seen. He's always talking about he's been shown things, and it's just like, this is what it is. There was never two paths. It was always one path. Like, there's no flexibility in what he's relaying, and he just believes it so absolutely. And maybe you could say the same thing about Isabella, but I don't get that same vibe from her, that it's this type of vibe or feeling. Even here she's saying, I just don't think that they would give something up like this. I think they're going to reset, and it's going to be rebuilt to be a stronger, more robust system. So that these types of things would lead me towards, I would say in this instant, when we do have these two differing views, lead me towards siding with Isabella. Also, like, I don't know what it is, but from Isabella, I just get like a really sincere, authentic vibe. Like, she's just herself. I don't know. Is that the best we can do? Maybe. So it's a fascinating micro issue of what's really happening right now. Is the system coming down? Is it being rebuilt? I don't know. But again, the broader issue that it highlights is, how do we deal with these differing viewpoints, especially when it's differing viewpoints within, people within the same sphere of trying to find and disseminate truth, versus it'd be one thing if it's a person on the, like, trying to do this, and then it's the system or these, somebody with a vested interest coming the other way. Like, that's different. That's a little bit easier to discern. It's like, wait a minute, they have motivations to do X, Y, or Z. I can factor that in, and we can see why we can discount this opinion. But when it's not that, when it's two people purportedly on the same side of things, yet they have pretty starkly different perspectives that are mutually exclusive, it's quite troubling. And that's the only answer I have right now, is trust your gut. And that's where I'll leave it. But please, guys, chime in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Please, please, please. It's very important when you guys do comment and I get to read those, because that's a huge way for me to also get more information. I think for other people as well in the community, get information, share ideas. And we're just going to keep moving forward as best we can. That's all I got for you guys in this video today. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.